my Trump
Oh, I
duck.
love that.
Got my Trump duck there. So yeah, I've got a whole bunch of these things. Actually, they're in the drawer behind your daughter. I want to give you one before.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a Trump fan. I was outside of the Capitol on the 6th.
Oh man.
I was there the whole day. Watched the whole
man.
thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It
the,
is.
the thing was just unfolding. Do you mind if I share that about because you were invited? Yeah, and he was like, "No, I'm not going because it's a setup."
Now we took 2 buses down out of Woodbine.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I was invited, I said, no way, this is a setup. I wasn't thinking the Capitol. I was thinking it's going to be a clash between Antifa.
We were all waiting for that.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah. No. There was 1 million people at the Washington Monument that morning.
Yeah.
They were outnumbered. If they were going to start something,
Right.
they would have never made it out of there.
Yeah.
They would have
yeah.
never. And everybody was on high alert.
Sure.
They were watching for
But nobody
them.
had any idea what was cranking with the whole hey, let's get into the Capitol, and then it just went. It just
I have it on video. Once it completely ended and everybody started, it was just a casual walk. But that's when you really saw the enormity of how many people were there.
sure.
And I remember saying, and I've got it on video, going, "Holy cow!" Once you saw the crowd start moving. And we just started our casual walk, and I've got it on video, too. Nobody was rushing. Nobody was, chanting. It was just a walk. But when we turned the corner, they were already there. They had been there already. That was staged. And so once we started walking, our buses were off to the side over by Air and Space. And I thought, I'm going over. My bag's got a sandwich in there. I'm going to recharge my phone. My feet were frozen. I said, you guys go ahead. I'll meet you guys up there later on. I'm going to the bus, and I'm going to recharge. And that's what I did. And that's when – and I'm kind of glad I did. And there's, reasons that happens. But I stepped off the bus to smoke a cigarette, and then the sirens went off. And I mean, it went off everywhere in D.C., and an older couple came by at a pretty good clip, and I was like, hey, is there a fight going on? Because that's what I thought. Okay, it's going on now. And they were like, no, they're storming the Capitol. I'm like, what? So I went back on the bus, grabbed my phone, went on Facebook Live, and walked on live all the way up. It's still on Facebook.
Is it really?
It's still on there. I walked all the way up. I got over I think the first set of steps, and Facebook took me off and erased my button off my page. But I was like, okay. So I stuck it in my pocket and walked as far as I could before you really couldn't go any further. But I was there, like, there it was. Everybody was on scaffolding and I was there for the whole thing. But I had no idea there was anybody inside. You couldn't see that. You saw some of the stuff going on in the steps, with the policemen and stuff like that. But, really, it wasn't anything that we thought. I didn't know until we got back on the bus that they were inside. And what made me think of it, I remember the bus driver saying, hey, 3:05, these buses are leaving. If you miss it, you're on your own. It's kind of like a cruise ship thing. So I'm not missing that bus. So we were all standing on the main drag there, and everybody's phones went to alert. And everybody, 1 million people stopped and looked at their phones. National Guard has been called in. And I'm thinking, okay, I just looked at my phone. I got 15 minutes to get back through 1 million people that I just walked through to get back to my bus. So I went sideways. I jumped over the wall across the front yard of the Capitol, and I'd been there before for rallies, so I knew where I was going. And then I went over the other wall and went up the side and got back to my bus. Excuse me. But and then I got back on the bus, and that's when we started watching the news and saw the whole thing. So I was like, whew. Glad I didn't go up there. Yeah, but I have never wavered about them knowing. I mean, I was there.
Yeah.
I was on camera.
Sure.
No, and nobody's ever called me.
Yeah.
But I didn't do anything wrong. I carried my flag.
Sure.
I had an American flag with me at the Capitol. Please.
I just saw they're going after a grandmother who walked back out.
It could have been the couple that I saw, that who told me about it, but.
Yeah.
I didn't. To this day, nobody's ever said anything to me about it, and I don't try to hide the fact. I did. I've been to the Capitol 3 or 4 times for a rally, the Obamacare rally, and so forth. I've been to there and rallies there at at the Washington, and that's our right.
Well, yeah, and I was going to.
We're allowed to do that.
Yeah,
Any day of the week we can walk around D.C. with an American flag in our hand.
Sure, and we're allowed to protest. That's peaceful protests are completely allowed. I'm not the whole going into the Capitol thing, and then you see it again. It doesn't seem to play out evenly on both sides, but how I don't know. Anyhow.
No, that was staged. That was staged. They knew they were going.
A lot of things about that day that were very questionable.
And I've seen some videos of a couple guys. And, hey, we got to go in here. That was a setup deal.
Sure.
That was a whole setup deal. So after seeing that, I didn't see that live that day, but after seeing the videos, I'm like, yeah. I'd probably have been right in there with that pack if I'd have been up there. Yeah. So I'm kind of things happen for a reason.
Yeah, they definitely do. But what? So. Okay, so I'm curious about, you've been in business in Maryland for how long? How long have you run a small business, or how long is your family or whatever? How long have you been in business in Maryland? Can you think of?
So my brother and I started the rodeo business in '96.
Okay, so the rodeo business is Rock and R Arena.
Rock and R Western Productions.
Rock and R Western Productions. Hey, Dave, can you bring that up? Yeah, so you guys started that when?
96.
96. Now, were you still riding at this point or no?
I was finishing. I was trying to ride. My first daughter was born in 96, and as soon as she was born, I couldn't ride a stool. It's like the good Lord slapped me and said, okay, idiot, you've got a little girl, and that's you. That's Addie. There's my third one on that horse.
There you go. Scroll down just a little bit there, Dave.
Yep, that's Addie. And right off to the rump of the horse and the gate is my middle daughter, Tanner.
Okay. There you go.
And right behind her is their mother.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and that picture was actually at the Howard County Farm Antique Club down in Howard County in West Friendship.
But you've always been in rodeo.
I got into rodeo after seeing my first rodeo at the Maryland State Fairgrounds.
How old were you?
14, maybe.
14.
Yeah, about her age. Yeah.
But you've always been around ag and
we
animals.
We grew up on a 200-acre farm.
Gotcha.
We were doing rodeo events before we even knew what rodeo was.
And that's right here in Maryland.
Yes, in Howard County.
Right.
Yep. So my dad, we grew up in an auctioneering company. So we grew up to be auctioneers. And my dad has been in the business ever since I was born. So other than the farming business, which was just a family business, and, that was separate. But the auctioneering business was, my dad. That was his passion.
Really?
Yeah.
So, and then you and your brother started after, now while you were riding, hold on, let me back up. You were riding from the time that you were 14 up until you and your brother started the auction business, and you were how old were you when you stopped riding?
So when I started riding, I didn't actually start getting on bucking horses until I was almost 16 years old.
Okay.
So I saw the first rodeo when I was 14.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of what. But I was racing motocross then. I wanted to be a motocross.
Were you an AMA rider
Yes,
or a
I
mama
was.
rider?
No,
you
I
were
was
an AMA.
AMA. Yeah, I was,
AMA.
raced,
Going down to Budds Creek.
No, it was there was a Quasco.
A Quasco, yeah.
But there was Big Berm up
Yeah.
in Howard County,
Yeah.
and that was on 97, just north of our farm, like 2 miles.
Yeah.
So I grew up going to Big Berm.
Oh, you were. It was in your backyard.
But I had a community of friends down in Howard County, right by the farm, that they all had motorcycles.
Sure.
They all raced, and the one family actually owned an excavating business, a backhoe business. So every day we were building new tracks, and we had 200 acres, and they had 40 acres, and so everybody down there every day we were building motocross tracks, and those kids actually build. To this day, they still build professional tracks. We grew up, and that was their profession now. They live out in Las Vegas, and they build BMX tracks.
Isn't that incredible?
Yes, it is. But I saw
started out in Howard County, and now they're in Vegas building professional BMX tracks.
Yeah, that's their. And one lives in Phoenix and one lives in Las Vegas, and they build professional tracks, and that's what they grew up doing. You know, when their dad would go to work, they'd take whatever backhoe was left, and, and we'd commandeer it. And I'm pretty sure those tracks are still back there in some of those woods back there. Some of those tabletops were pro tabletops. We had a pro track everywhere, but we also had a BMX team too. So we raced BMX and motocross.
Right, Howard County Fairgrounds, all over the place.
Yeah,
right?
Columbia was a big BMX track down there. Yeah, we were down there a
huge
lot.
one down there.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. So we did that, and then I saw the rodeo, and I thought, well, you know what? I was too little for football. I was too short for basketball. My grades weren't good enough for baseball. I got cut off the baseball team, and I thought, well, you know, rodeo's not so bad. So rodeo is one of those sports that you don't have a coach to tell you when you can play, how much you can play. It's completely up to you. You know, you call and enter, you pay your own entry fees, and if you really want to make it, then you hang on.
Yeah.
You know, you can go as far as you want in rodeo, all on your own accord. So,
Yeah. How well you hold on.
yeah, stay alive.
Stay alive, hold on.
Yeah, and that's a big deal in rodeo. But you know, once I saw
That's
these
nuts.
bucking horses, and you know, I was like, I looked at my brother. I'm like, we do that at the farm. We didn't even know about rodeo. You know, we were riding. We had 2 donkeys,
Okay.
and those donkeys' jobs were to halter break our show cattle. My dad bought those donkeys out in Oklahoma specifically to break show cattle, and that's what donkeys are really good for, because they plant their feet. The cattle can't drag them around.
Nothing can drag a donkey around.
Right. So we would go down in the morning, tie our cattle to the donkeys, and they had a leather strap around their neck, and those donkeys would walk those steers all day long. When we got home from school, my dad would drop us off at the barn, say, look, untie the calves and lead them around. So we would untie the calves, get drug around for a little bit. But then we were like, well, let's ride the donkeys. Well, those donkeys didn't like to be ridden, so they would buck us off. That's a wonder we didn't get killed in the barnyard. But I'm thinking, well, heck, we do that already. Let's try to win some money at it now. So I entered a rodeo down in Virginia, my first one ever. I didn't tell my parents. Nobody knew I was down there.
Was this just kind of like just on a whim? Were you just there, or was this pre-planned?
My first job in high school, in my 10th grade, I had work released. I worked at the stockyards down in West Friendship, and the guy that worked there, Timmy Johnson, I knew him from being at the stockyards all the time with my dad anyway. But I saw Timmy. When I saw that rodeo at the Maryland State Fairgrounds, I actually saw Timmy get on his first bull that day. So I knew he knew about it. So I got a job with the stockyards working with Timmy, and we would talk rodeo, and we would talk about equipment and so forth. And he told me one day, he goes, hey, I entered you at a rodeo. He goes, I'm getting tired of you talking about it. You know, you're going to, and I was like, what did you enter me in? He said, bareback riding, because my mom wouldn't let me ride bulls then. She thought, that was more dangerous than the horses. Little did she know, the horses will kill you just as quick as them bulls will. But so we went down to Virginia, Herndon, Virginia, and I walked in, and there was a gentleman there that I recognized. He was a really good friend of my dad and the family, and he was an auctioneer, but he was also a rodeo announcer, and he was announcing that rodeo. And I walked in. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, I guess you're going to find out soon enough. I'm entered." And he said, "What did you draw?" I said, I don't know. How do you find that out? It's my first rodeo. Right. He said, "Well, come on down here." So we walked down to the office, and I paid my fees, and we looked on the list, and I remember him saying, "Oh no." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, that's the brand on the horse."
Because
ONO is the brand on the horse.
So for the people that are listening and watching this, when you draw, you're actually putting your name in a hat,
and they draw out,
and they're drawing out to determine which animal you're riding.
The luck of the draw.
Correct. And so the animal that you got, the horse that you got,
branded ONO.
ONO.
And his name was Chief Crazy Horse. And I found out later that he was the 5 times bucking horse of the year. So my first head of stock ever, I drew the best horse in the circuit. And he was a big paint, long stringy hair, feathered feet, big, ugly looking bronc. And so he just looked at me, and I remember he said, "We're not going to tell your dad about this." I was like, "I'm not even worried about that right now. Just ride this horse." So bareback riding is the first event in any rodeo. So the national anthem is over with. The grand entry goes out. The lights come up, and I hear a gentleman yell, "Who's got Chief Crazy Horse?" And I said, I do. He's like, "Well, why aren't you on him yet?" I'm like, how do I do that? I didn't even know how to put my rigging on or anything like that. So they did it all for me. And he's like, "Get up here and put your hand in the rigging." And no sooner did I sit down on the horse, they just opened the gate. They didn't wait for me to nod my head or anything, but I did everything I could to stay in the middle of that horse. And he jumped all the way down the arena right in front of where that guy's announcing from, the announcer stand. And this horse planted me over top of his head. And he never touched me, but he jumped all around me. And so I was like 7.7 seconds, almost rode the first horse. And you're riding for 8 seconds.
Yeah.
And I remember him looking over the edge of the announcer stand. He goes, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." He goes, "Nah, you did pretty good. Most people don't make it that far on that horse." I was like, "Well," so that's what started it. And I rode bucking horses for probably 3 years. And then I was working for Dave Martin Championship Rodeo Company up in Gettysburg. That was how I got my foot in the rodeo business, is not just competing, but I went to work for the rodeo company.
Okay.
So I was traveling with them, building arenas and tearing down arenas and feeding stock. And, while everybody else just running off from rodeo to rodeo, we had to stay and do all the work and then go to another town and set it all up and do it. So I learned the business side first before I learned the competition end of it. And then people would, they would get there and somebody would call out and say they're not coming. We call it a turnout.
Okay.
Well, Dave would let me get on every turnout horse. So I was getting on free horses. I was getting killed, but to me it was great. I was just getting on bucking horses.
How old were you?
I was 16 then. Had my driver's license, had a car. My mom actually, she did not promote this, but I was going to Glenelg High School.
Okay.
And but I was living with my mom.
Our alma mater.
Yeah. But I was actually living with my mom down she lived near Mount Hebron High School in Ellicott City. Mm-hmm. So she would drive me to school every day until I got my license, and then I would go to drive myself to school. But I hated math class. Hated it.
I just think it was something about Glenelg and math.
Yeah,
I hated math.
Yeah.
I hated math so much. I don't know if I didn't really hate the math teacher. It just, I hated math too, man.
Well,
at Glenelg.
Yeah.
I bet you if we interviewed a bunch of people from Glenelg, I wonder if that's like universal.
Well, I had just gotten cut from the baseball team for my grades because I was so enthralled about rodeo. I couldn't think about anything else. So I had a little special place around the corner by the auditorium where I would sit in a corner where nobody could see me, and I would read rodeo magazines during math class. So until they caught me. And it was Mr. Adams who caught me there, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I said,
How do you remember your math teacher's name?
No, this was the principal.
Oh, okay.
The principal
Mr.
called me.
Adams.
Yeah,
Okay,
Mr.
the
Adams
principal.
called me.
I don't even remember any. I mean, he was probably I was right behind you. So
I really don't remember a whole lot. I remember Mr. Signorino and then the coach's name, stuff like that. But none of my teachers.
Yeah,
I hated school.
Yeah.
I really did. But he asked me. He's like, what are you doing at? I said, "I'm reading." I'm trying to learn this right here. And he's like, "We don't teach that here." Exactly. I'm out here trying to self-teach myself, and so we ended up in the office, and he said, I would never tell a student this. He said, because if this is what your passion is, he said, you may need to go to Texas or something like that. I don't know. I was like, you know what? You're exactly right.
He might have been just trying to get rid of you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he my dad was the coach. My dad was athlete of the year, the very first athlete of the year at Glenelg in 1965. So yeah, there was a lot of teachers there didn't want my dad there either. So they were like, "Yeah, you might want to just go ahead and go to Texas." So I went to Texas.
Go to Texas.
You're from Maryland. You're not going to learn it here.
Go west, young man.
I did, and got a little bit of education down there, and I came back, went back to work for the Mr. Dave Martin up in Gettysburg, and the rodeo came back to Timonium.
Okay.
Now, back then, you probably don't remember Chatham Mall in Ellicott City.
I do remember
You remember Chatham Mall?
Yeah,
They used to have Tyler's Country Clothes in there.
Okay.
And I used to buy my cowboy hats. They had boots in there and so forth. So I was well known in the store. Well, they were a sponsor of that rodeo. So when I get there, and my mom had never seen me ride either. So I had my family there. My mom was there. And I decided, well, I'm going to enter the bull riding too. Bareback riding and bull riding. and they get there.
Why
and,
not?
Yeah, why not? They've got a big banner up on the hill, says "Go Chip, Tyler's Country Clothes." I was like, well, I'm a big deal here, this is my hometown. And I draw Pontiac, which is a horse that rears out when he comes out of the chute, rears straight up in the air, and then bucks really hard. A lot of guys don't make it past the first jump. Well, I ride him, and I'm winning the bareback riding. So I'm like, this is great. The place is going crazy. Nobody knows I'm into bull riding. But I went back and I asked a bunch of the top guys, hey, look, I don't even have a bull rope. I don't have any spurs. I don't have no bull riding equipment. So they're back there hooking me up and fixing me up, And the first bull I drew was this real little small black bull, big high horns. His name was Lucifer, actually, and because he would get you.
Nothing intimidating about a bull named
Lucifer. Yeah, a little black bull. And every time that I saw guys get on him, he got them. He would always camp out on them and throw them over the fence or something like that. So I'm like, that's going through my mind a little bit. But you can't, rodeos, you can't let that affect you. You got to just concentrate on riding first.
You're getting in there.
You're getting in there. So I remember sitting on my bull. They run my bull in, and these guys were helping me. I had like 3 champions helping me. And I put my hand in the rope, and I remember the announcer going, let's go back to Chip Ridgley. He's winning the bareback riding, and here's your hometown guy. And I remember of all the yelling, my mom yelling, what did you say? And I just remember putting my hand, I'm like, I forgot to tell her this.
What did you say? Comes from the stands.
Come from the stands.
Awesome.
So, and I put my hand in the rope, and when you put your hand into a bull rope, there's another guy with the tail of the rope, and they pull it really tight. Well, this guy's a pretty big guy, and he's pulling this rope, and my hand's sinking into this bull's back. I'm looking at him like, hey, that's enough. He goes, no, it's got to be tight. I said, all right. So he puts the tail of the rope across the palm of my hand. I'm like, all right, I'm good. He goes, no. It goes around the back of your wrist and across the palm of your hand again. And at this point, I'm thinking, you're a liar. And I'm the rookie here. He's setting me up. But no, that's actually how you do it. But I ended up going 7.9. Almost rode that first bull that day, and it was so easy for me compared to the horses. And so I never got on another bucking horse after that, and I spent 16 years riding bulls after that. But that's how that happened.
That's incredible.
Man.
I mean, yeah, your mom didn't kill you.
No.
Did she have a few words for you after the?
No, she actually she understood right away, because I said, Mom, that was easier on me than those horses, and the horses were, they'll run into fences and jump things with you, and Mom was a horse girl too. She knows, and I said, I'm not getting on them anymore.
Yeah.
So
yeah, people look out in the field and they think, well, isn't that a beautiful creature? That's just it's a horse. It's a horse. And I'm like, that's 1,200 pounds of pure crazy sometimes. Depending upon which horse you get near.
They're a rodeo bucking horse.
Yeah.
Their job is the same as the bull.
Yeah.
Get you off any way you can, and then
yeah.
they're not going to tiptoe around you. They'll run over you, and I
land on top of you. And
I did see a young cowboy. I'm one of the best bareback riders ever lose his life at a rodeo at Cowtown, New Jersey one night. I was actually doing the TV. I was a TV host there, and I watched the whole thing unfold. And that was one of the worst nights that I've ever seen in rodeo. And his dad was a really good friend of mine, and I just happened to watch the whole thing. And this kid rode really good. So it doesn't matter how good you are. World champions get killed. Look at Lane Frost at Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yeah.
That's that movie 8 Seconds is about Lane.
Yeah.
And he rode better than anybody.
Yeah, he was an incredible rider.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. The bulls don't care who you are, how many buckles you have, where you come from.
Yeah.
They could care. Or if you're practicing. You can't practice rodeo without getting on them. It's not like, I go out and practice with my kids, and you go out and throw the ball around. That's practicing. But in rodeo, you're actually tying yourself on to one and practicing.
You're going at it.
And they don't care.
So you did it's kind of mind-numbing when you think about it. It's like, okay, I've been to a bunch of rodeos, a couple of rodeos that you were announcing for, and you got into that after riding for so long. So you've worn a ton of hats.
Yeah, I've done everything in rodeo.
No pun intended. Yeah, and then it was kind of funny because you and I have known each other for quite a while now, and I think I found out about it through Facebook. Bring up that other website, would you, Dave?
It was JBRW Ranch.
No, yeah, J. Rodeo. This one, when I so when I saw this, I was like, get out of here. This is crazy. So how does a cowpo go to do this? Is just, I mean, what a transition, man. But you've always been a business guy.
Yeah.
You've always been in business. I mean, your family was in business in Howard County for forever. And then you've always had, you worked at the farm. You had the auctioneer business. Your brother's got an auction, still runs an auctioneer business, right?
He's big into it.
Big into it, yeah. And then now you got go with the flow.
Yeah. So, actually, my youngest actually named the business. We couldn't think of a name for the business, but so how that came about, we go to the Caribbean every year.
Okay.
All right. My wife and I started going on our honeymoon, and I had never, if I'd have known what the Caribbean was, I probably wouldn't even have rodeoed. You probably never saw me again. I'd be in an island somewhere, but I loved it.
This sounds like a country song.
Yeah, right. Well, look at Kenny Chesney,
Right,
that's
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But, and I never was a Kenny Chesney fan until we started this. But we go to the Caribbean, and 15 years later, on our anniversary, we decided to do our very first cruise. And, I wasn't big on boats or anything like that. And we
So
went
we're talking like big cruise vessel.
Oh yeah,
Like
huge Carnival cruise ship.
cruise ship. Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right,
we were,
gotcha.
and on our honeymoon, we were in St. Lucia at a Sandals resort. And so 15 years later, we decided we were going to book this cruise, and I kind of surprised my wife with it. But the Thursday of the cruise was actually our anniversary, and we were docking at St. Lucia on our anniversary. So 15 years later to the day, we're back on the same island we started on. And so we were doing the excursions, and I love snorkeling. I mean, I'm a snorkeling and diving. I've started diving since, though. And we loved it, but we're like, you know what? We need to bring some friends. We need some of our people with us. So we invited some friends of ours, and we went down to Puerto Rico, San Juan. We ended up in this big festival. You think Mardi Gras is cool and big, Well, this festival in San Juan, Puerto Rico is like 100 times that. One of the best times we've ever had. So the next morning, we're walking. We were trying to find something before we got on the boat, and the ships are in the harbor, and there's like 5 of them in the harbor. And my good friend John Lawler, he's like, it's a wonder those big ships don't fall over. I'm like, nah, they got all kinds of cool stuff. They don't ever fall over. So we get down to the ship, and we're standing in line, and it's like there was 1 million people with Orioles and Ravens jerseys on. Now, we knew the Ravens were playing the Texans that day, and we were trying to find out where we're going to go on this ship to watch this game. And I'm looking down the aisle, and I said, half of Maryland is on this ship. What is going on? So we finally get on the ship, and of course, our wives are like, we're going to the room first and dropping our stuff. And they had room right next to us adjoining. And so, okay, we're dropping this stuff, and we're going to the bar because I'm going to go watch this game. So we get into the room, and I know it's already started, and I'm going through the TV trying to find this game while she's in the bathroom getting ready. And there's CNN comes up with that cruise ship in Italy that hit those rocks. And it's the Costa Concordia.
Oh, and here you just had this conversation about
an hour ago.
They're perfectly safe. They don't tip over. Like what now?
Yeah, so I'm calling my buddy. I'm like, hey, you need to turn it on.
That was a mess too.
So that was the week. Every port we came in, everybody's outside looking for rocks, and like, hey, this does happen. So everybody's on heightened alert. So we get done that.
What was the story with that?
He went out of his way to see somebody on the island and hit a rock that he didn't see.
Yeah.
An idiot.
Yeah.
An idiot. So we were just making sure, we didn't have an idiot driving our boat.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, no doubt. But, we were good. So we finally get down to the sports bar, and we're in the bar, and I'm, everybody's got Orioles jerseys on and Ravens jerseys. I'm like, so I'm at the bar, I'm ordering drinks, and there's a younger couple there, and I'm like, hey, what is with all of the Orioles people here? She said, this is the annual Earl Weaver cruise. You remember Earl Weaver?
What's the likelihood?
No, I mean, we just stumbled on that, and I said, what does that mean? She said, oh, well, here comes Earl in now. And so he brings all the old Orioles on.
Wow.
And they had won
so you're
the,
on,
they
you're
had
on
won the
about, you
98
had no
Rock.
idea.
No idea.
No idea.
No.
And
But now it's coming back because I'm like, I saw all the jerseys earlier, you know, and I thought to myself, half of Maryland's here, and they had won the 98 Rock tickets, so they got a free ride on here. So everybody's taking pictures with Earl, and you know, we just kind of forgot about the Ravens game almost, pretty much. And so we made our way across the hall. There was a Irish pub, the what was it, the Duck and Dog, and you could go in there, and this guy had one guy playing the guitar, and he knew every song you could imagine for $5, you know. So I got a glass of whiskey, and you could smoke in there. So, and then I got to talking to this guy that's singing the guitar. Well, he's from, what was it, Harford County? And this guy, oblivious like I was, but he mentioned, he goes, yeah, I played Little League ball with Cal and Billy Ripken. I said, really? That's crazy. And with that, I see Earl Weaver across the hall. They're coming across our way. And I got $5 in my hand. I said, hey, you know, thank God I'm a country boy? He goes, yeah, I grew up at Memorial Stadium with that. And I said, you want to play that right now? Here comes Earl Weaver in right now. He's like, what? And the shock. And I said, yeah, how about play that? So he started playing it, and they came in, and Mr. and Mrs. Weaver were dancing, and he got done, and the pictures were getting taken, and he looked at me and goes, how'd you do that? I said, I didn't do anything. I just saw it happening, and I noticed you didn't know, and I had just learned it, and it just happened. So all week long, we were hanging out with Earl Weaver. He ate breakfast with us a couple times in the mornings, and I was in the casino with him till 3 o'clock in the morning. He didn't care. He loved that. And
Yeah.
so what made me think, I'm like, wait a minute. How does Earl Weaver get his own cruise?
Right.
So I called Royal Caribbean and said, hey, I was on this cruise with Earl Weaver. I've got a lot of friends, and you know, we do the rodeos. I'm going to do a Caribbean Cowboys cruise. So we started doing that, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember you doing that. Okay.
Yeah, so every year.
How long did you run that?
We went for like 5 years.
The Caribbean Cowboy Cruise.
And as it grew, try to get, just say 30 or 50 cowboys back on the ship at a certain time. We were in Aruba, and of course we were in the water. We just got done snorkeling. We're in the water, you know, and I think we were supposed to be on the boat at 5 or whatever it was, and finally this waitress comes out in the water. She's like, hey, you cowboys, you guys need to leave now. And of course we're like, yeah, whatever, you know. I'm like, no. My wife freaked. She was like, everybody out. And it took us like 3 buses to get everybody
they
back.
they will leave you.
They will leave you.
They will leave you, and the ship will go bye-bye.
So that was the turning point, that we stopped the cruises and just started doing all-inclusive resorts. So because as it grew, my wife's like, it's absolutely not. I'm not going to do that again, because we almost missed. They were pulling in the gang when we pulled up with 3 buses of cowboys, you know. Yeah, so my wife's not saying never again. So we started doing the all-inclusive things, and that's good too.
Sure.
But we can stay in the water as long as we want till it gets dark.
Absolutely.
And then go to a nice restaurant. So yeah, that happens. So once we do these islands, we do the excursions. So we get on a boat and we go around the islands, and we were in Cozumel, Mexico one year for my brother's 40th. We were all inclusive, and we signed up for a what was it, steak and shrimp or steak and lobster dinner on a boat.
Gotcha.
Well, we're like, we'll do that. It must have been like 15 or 16 of us in that group. It wasn't as big a group. So we were supposed to meet down in town at this restaurant or bar, and they were going to meet us there and load us on the boat. So we walked down into town, and everybody's standing there drinking, having a great time, and my brother-in-law then, Special Forces Ranger guy, you know, from out of Iraq and Afghanistan, tough guy. And he goes, oh, God. And I said, what? He goes, pirate, 3 o'clock. And I looked around the corner, and he comes, this dude, Johnny Depp all the way, walking up through I'm like, damn, he's a real pirate. And he draws his sword right in front of us, and he goes, who's ready for the steak and lobster cruise? And we're like, we are. Well, half the place was there, too. So we get up, and there's like 40 people walking out of this place following this pirate down across the cobblestone streets. And we get out to the International Pier. There was a couple little dinghies and a couple fishing boats out there, but nothing big enough for this group. And then, of course, Dave, he said, "Oh God, pirate ship, 12 o'clock." And this pirate ship came around the corner, and it was a full-blown pirate ship. And I was like, "Are we doing that?" And he's like, "Yeah, evidently so." So these guys pulled up, and they're swinging around, sword fighting, and we had the best excursion. To this day, it's still my favorite excursion. But I'm thinking, no, we need that. We got to do that.
Full-blown pirate
Full-blown
adventure.
pirate. Well, and I can't duplicate that ever. And every time anybody that was with us on that trip to this day, that's still their favorite thing that we've ever done. But we do a lot of, snorkeling excursions.
Okay.
Guys, they'll take us out to the reef and let us snorkel, and then we'll hit a deserted isle or a beach there where they've already been there, set up lunch and tables, and so we never see that. But
Okay.
I'm thinking, how easy is that?
Yeah.
I'm like, we got to do that.
Yeah.
So it started, we need to start a boat business. My wife's like, absolutely not. You don't know a thing about the water. I'm like, can't be that hard. How hard can it be?
I ride crazy animals.
The
for a
stuff
living.
we've
It's just
done,
no
right?
big
Yeah,
deal.
that's nothing.
Yeah.
So at the time,
I've been in a Ford commercial. I mean,
Chevy.
Oh,
commercial.
Chevy.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
man. What
yeah,
an
don't mess up
endorsement.
there.
Oh, man.
So I was
Should have been a Dodge commercial, but anyhow.
at that time, I was working as a TV host at the Cowtown Rodeo up in New Jersey. Every Saturday night, I was on TV for the Cowtown Rodeo.
Sure.
And that year, we were in the Dominican Republic with our cowboy group, and we're in the water, and it was February or something like that. And I'm constantly the kids are at home on the farm. I have 3 daughters. I'm constantly checking on them. So I walk up to get a drink. I check my phone. No messages from them, but I had a message from my TV producer at SNJ Today in Southern New Jersey. Now, they had gone out of business. We were losing. I just lost my job.
Yeah, I was
19
going to say
straight Saturdays in a row.
I was going to say you're now out of business.
So I walked into the water, and I'm thinking, wow, what am I going to do now? And of course, my wife's like, did the girls call? I said, no, but I just lost my job at Cowtown. The TV station went out of business. And my brother's like, now you got time to start that boat business you've been talking about. I was like, you know what? You are absolutely right. And I'll never forget my wife looked at. She goes, why do you tell him that? He's going to do that. And then I found a boat, and we spent a year. My good friend Jimmy Parrott, who I rode bulls with, and he's out of Florida. He helped me put the boat together, and then I had some other people help me. And next thing I know, I'm in the water in Ocean City with Go With The Flow, and now I got 2 boats.
2.
Yeah, we got a bigger boat.
And how big is big?
The houseboat's a 30-foot houseboat. I bought a 42-foot pontoon. It was originally a taxi boat up on the Delaware River, but
Okay.
we took it and kind of took it all apart and put a bar on it and rebuilt it and airbrushed it, and it's the Salty Siren. Holds 23 passengers, got a full bar.
Do you have a picture of that thing up
At
here on the
OCSiren.com.
OCSiren.com.
Yeah,
See if you
OC
can find that, Dave.
Yeah.
That's amazing. OC Siren. So then, and that's been since what year did you start with the first boat?
19.
19.
Yeah, I bought the boat in 18, started in 19, and then, yep, that's it.
There we go.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was just a taxi boat. Had seats down the middle and down the sides, and I ripped all that out, and we had a good friend of mine airbrush it. And
You got a full bar in there.
full bar, yep. And you stand up, you can sit down the front deck out on the front there. You can sit out there, and this year we're going to put a little 2-man band out there.
23 passengers.
Yep.
You do birthday parties, weddings.
98% of our business is bachelorette parties and bachelor parties.
Bachelorette parties.
Yep.
And this is right down Ocean City, Pier 23.
Yep.
In West OC.
And I was there the first year. It was not Pier 23. It was called Mad Fish Restaurant.
Yeah.
And I had spent 7 months working on this boat, and we finally get our slip there at Mad Fish Restaurant. And the gentleman Cole Toston, he gave me my first slip. I mean, I didn't know anybody, knew nobody, but I thought I was going to put it at Frontier Town. That's where I was planning all winter long. I was going to go to Frontier Town. And then they called me and said, hey, what is the size of your boat? And then I gave them the dimension. They're like, we don't have a slip fit that boat.
All right.
It's a 12-foot wide houseboat. And so I was like, oh.
Yeah, the keel on most boats are not what a houseboat would be.
No.
Yeah.
So
you gotta have a wide slip.
So
to be
now
able to
I have
fit
no
this thing.
idea where I'm going.
Right.
And
so you got the boat.
Got the
This
boat.
is great planning. I like this.
Yeah, there was no planning. So my wife was.
This is total entrepreneur. This sounds. Just
I was actually auctioneering.
So familiar.
I was actually auctioneering the pig sale, 4-H pig sale at Harris County Fairgrounds.
Okay.
Buddy of mine walked up and said, "Hey, how's this boat business going?" I said, "I'm ready, but I don't have a place to put it now." And he goes, "Well, I'm an engineer for a friend of mine down there." He goes, "Let me call him. He knows everybody and see if we can do it." And I get a text from him said, "Hey, you're going to meet Todd Burbage Tuesday morning at the Aztec Diner." So I don't know. I have no idea who this guy is. So I go down. I meet Todd Burbage, great guy. He knows Cole Tolston. He keeps his boat right there too. And he talked to Cole and said, "Hey, give this guy a chance." So he agreed. And I worked on this boat. And you can own any boat.
Sure.
But when you're going to do commercial boating, it changes. And then the Coast Guard's involved, then DNR is involved, and then the insurance company. It's not. You got to have the boat surveyed, and I'm like, it's one thing after another. I'm not.
Sure.
I'm not running a good line here, and the surveyor's like, "Hey, you got like rotten wood in your stringers," and I'm like, "Okay, how do I fix that?" And he's telling me how. I'm like, "This is going to take forever. I don't know anything about these boats." So I went and talked to another guy that does fiberglass, and he said, "Okay, you cut these stringers out and dig this old wood out and fill it with this epoxy stuff." He goes, and they'll pass it. So I was in the bottom of my boat one morning, and it was late June now, and it's hot in the morning. It was 100 degrees that morning where I thought I was done. I'm going to sell the boat, and I was like, "Lord, I need a little help right now, just a little help." And with that, I know, you feel somebody looking at you, and I looked up. Gentleman's looking over the banister at me like I'm crazy. I was like, "Can I help you?" He's like, "Yeah, you know Randy Ridgley?" That's my brother. I was like, "Nope." I'm not even going to acknowledge that guy. He said, "Yeah, that's what he told me you would say."
A loaded question, right?
Well, Randy was auctioneering a Ducks Unlimited auction where this gentleman had met him, and my brother said, "Hey, my brother's down there starting this boat business. If there's any way you could help him, please." Well, this guy turned into my best friend. I mean, immediately. He looked at me and goes, "I'll help you. You got any cold beer on that boat?" I was like, "Yes, I do." And we talked for 6 hours. It was Wayne Oduchowski, best friend. He saved my butt so many times on the water down there. He knew everybody. He's I'm gonna just tell you, one of the greatest guys you ever meet. And just passed away.
Wow.
Just fished for 3 months in Mexico and the Caribbean with his sons. Had a great time. Flew home. Had sepsis shock or whatever, bacterial infection, and then had a stroke and gone like that. He texted me February, I think it was 16th. He said, "If I die tomorrow," he goes, "I've had a full life," because he had 4 sons they fished all winter long in the Caribbean, and just a great life. The guy was just one of those guys. So that's a reason why I do things.
Yeah.
Because this can end real quick.
Yeah. Nobody really kind of keeps that in perspective for the most part.
No.
Where I think very few people keep that in the back of their brain, like, and it's always like, I want to do this or I want to do that, and rather than, I really appreciate the fact that I was able to do what I was able to do with the days that God had given me, and it's been a blessing.
I was going to wait till I was 80.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
No.
Yeah. You got to get going.
I'm broke up now.
Yeah, sure.
But my wife, and today she was like, "I told you this was not the right time. Told you." I said, "Well, when would it have been?"
Yeah.
It would have never been the right time.
But I think that's don't you think that's kind of an entrepreneurial push that you're, because you've always kind of dug in and done things, on the edge. Your motocross, your BMX, you're riding broncs, then you're riding bulls, and you're doing it competitively. You're doing it for the money, and it's not just for recreation anymore. You're now making money doing it. Then you and your brother open up and you start doing your auctioneering. Yeah, you're doing your own shows and you're doing auctioneering, and then it went to your own shows, and then in the middle of us, and then you start announcing. You're doing all of that kind of fun
That's
stuff.
a whole different story.
Which is bizarre because for people that don't understand that when you're doing, like, if you're doing a show, like if I'm hosting a show, like for Mike Vauders, I hosted the
I know Mike very well.
Right.
Yeah.
I hosted the event down at the Stonewall Roritan one year, and there's a big difference when you're announcing and when you're doing I don't know, really, like emceeing something. when you're announcing for something, you're calling out every single thing that's happening. And I never realized how little I knew about monster trucks.
Yeah.
Until
I knew nothing.
Until I announced for a monster truck rally. And I'm like, I sound like a complete idiot on the microphone in front of I don't even know how many thousands of people.
Yeah.
And poor Mike B. I forgot, you know, who was in what vehicle, and I was messing up people's names, and it's just, and so to be able to do that, I realized at that point, an announcer I'm not, because you're talking to the crowd constantly. So when you're announcing for Broncos or for bull riding, you're inspiring the rider, but you're also talking to the crowd, and you're announcing
Correct.
exactly what's going on. You're relaying all the information in live, like in real time. You've got to be on your toes, and you're talking incessantly.
Well, that's why I think announcing rodeos helped me, because I knew everybody. I knew most of the stock, and I know how to convey the rules to you. If you're sitting in the stands, convey the rules to you at the same time talking about this guy that's tying himself on this bull right here, because I know those guys. I've taught half of them. But when I went to monster trucks, I had never been to a monster truck show before.
And then his son came out.
Yeah, little Mikey.
Little Mikey came out, and he starts doing all these tricks on the motorcycle. He does freestyle motocross.
Right.
And those guys, they've got a name for everything. Now, I was a street bike stunt rider, you know, and I knew what knack, high chairs, low chair, wheelies, all that kind of fun stuff.
Superman.
I got all. Yeah, I knew the basics of it just from being in
the
motorcycles.
rodeo era was my favorite.
Right. So you get going and you're watching these guys, and then you're trying to figure out, what is that called? Because I have no clue what
they
this
would tell
is.
me in my ear.
Yeah,
I have an
you had a
earpiece.
guy. Oh, that's
I had an
fantastic.
earpiece.
So
Yeah,
you were a leg up on me.
So the guys upstairs, they knew I didn't know, and they were like, "Chip, that's a knack," you know. And I'm like, "Look at that knack," you know. So, but when I started doing the monster truck shows, I went out. I auditioned for the first time at Baltimore Arena, and they let me do the freestyle with Gravedigger in it, and which I thought was cool. But I'm a fan of Gravedigger, and I've seen him on TV. Never been to a live show, but I'm watching Gravedigger now up close, you know, within feet of me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, look at that monster truck. And I'm doing, and then I get this letter in the mail from the United States Hot Rod Association. Congratulations and welcome to the family. And with a list of cities from the very first weekend in January to the last weekend in March. Every weekend I was in a different city. And my wife looked at me. She goes, what's this mean? I said, I think they want me to announce. She goes, do they know you don't know what you're doing? I said, well, evidently they don't care, because I am like booked solid every weekend. And I had 2 little kids, you know, and she's like, how are you? And I said, I'm going to make this up.
Yeah, just keep it quiet, keep talking, and hope that nobody notices that I have no idea what's going on.
As an announcer, I hate being the one everybody's looking at and you have no clue what you're talking about.
Sure.
So when it comes to, I was the same way with the Cowboys, and opening ceremonies of every rodeo is the most important thing to me. The rodeo is going to take care of itself after opening ceremonies. So opening ceremonies sets the stage for the rest of the show. If you screw that up, then you screw everybody's mind up, including mine. But I made sure every one of those openings, I had everybody's name written down right, you know, and I had their trucks and what size motor they had and what year truck it was.
Yeah, you can't just spitball that.
No.
That's I mean, and let me tell you something. I tried. I failed miserably. Because I'm like, man, I've known Mike for forever, and I know these trucks, and I know these guys, and I know, you know, Mente, and I know these, you know, and you know, you get up there, and then they hand you the mic.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different thing, because everybody's like looking at you, and then
I spent 2 hours writing all this out. I had 2 pages of this introductions all written out, you know, and I'm going out, and there's 2 rows of crush cars. I go out in the middle, and they shut the lights out on me. I can't see my papers. I'm like, oh my God. So now I winged it the first night. And then the next day I was at Walmart buying a pen light. And I carried it on my credentials. for 6 years. I did monster trucks for 6 years.
6 years.
And so I knew, and I made sure those batteries were good, because that will never happen ever again.
Yeah.
And I would stand out there, and do the whole introduction. And then once you do the introduction, and after the national anthem, they fire those trucks back up. Well, you need to be off of the floor because it's dark and spotlights are on. They can't see you. And there's been announcers gotten run over before.
Yeah, they had one. I was going to say, and when those, Mike was telling me about a time when a guy who had been in monster trucks his whole life.
Yep, he made a bad mistake.
Yeah, and you just got in the wrong place at the wrong time. And
I heard about that.
Yeah, and you're just.
I said, well, that's never going to happen to me.
Yeah.
So in every building you
I
go
survived
to,
riding bulls. I survived riding.
Yeah, I'm not getting
broncs.
run over
I'm not
by
getting run
a
over
truck.
by a monster truck.
So in every building we went to, I was able to find whatever tunnel on the corners and on the sides that I wanted. They would give me first pick of whatever tunnel I wanted to work out of. And I would make sure wherever I was ending my introductions at, I'm going to that tunnel real quick. And if can't make it to that tunnel, I'm going over here to this tunnel. I knew where I was, and I made sure of that, because that was never going to happen. But that first year, I think we were in Denver. I was doing Denver Coliseum, and a buddy of mine who was a rodeo clown, Bobby Cox. I think Bobby worked. Didn't he work for us here?
Yeah. Bobby was here.
He came up to me and goes, "Hey, just rumor that they're going to ask you to do the World Finals in Vegas." I said, "What?"
Man.
I said, "I just started. I'm just lying my way through this anyway." And he's like, "Well, that's what I was told." And then Bill Easterly came in, the big head guy from Chicago, and he took us out to dinner that night at the steakhouse, and he goes, "Hey, what's it going to take to get you to do the World Finals?" I said, "Where?" He said, "In Vegas, on pay-per-view." I said, "Bill," I said, "I know you have more qualified guys than me. Joe Lowe. I mean, all these guys are veterans, And he's like, "Well, they'll be there in a capacity." He goes, "But we want you on the floor." He goes, "What's it going to take?" I said, "Buy my wife a ticket, because she ain't going to let me go to Vegas without her." I said, "So, I'll do it for free, but you're going to have to pay for the trip." And they did. And we went out there and had a great time. Did the World Finals, won $6,000 at the MGM on a slot machine. I don't gamble, but we got lucky. So we had a great weekend.
I love that. So my electrician always tells me he doesn't gamble, but he's broke too.
Yeah.
So you're you don't gamble, but you won $6,000 on a slot
just out
machine.
of on a whim. Just
Yes.
I'm in Vegas, so
Yeah, you got to.
It was the day after the World Finals.
I think it's part of the rules.
You got to do it.
I think when you sign something, when you fly into Vegas, there's some sort of you
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, well.
You're not leaving Vegas without spending something.
Well, we were there the first night, the day before the finals. We were in a production meeting, and even the big boss, in the middle of the meeting, he was like, "Oh," he goes, "We forgot to get judges." I said, "You don't have a judges for the World Finals?" He goes, "Nope, forgot all about them." I said, "Well, I got guys here. I had friends fly in." And I said, "They've been to monster truck shows. They can judge." So I had my friends were the judges. And, of course, Gravedigger wins racing. He wins, freestyle. He wins everything. So the next year, I get the job again. We go back. That was the year
Mikey.
that's where Maryland won the basketball championship that year, right?
Right.
So I was betting. We were betting on Maryland. We were winning so much money that weekend on Maryland, but we weren't even worried about the World Finals. We were winning so much money betting on Maryland. But Mikey Vaughters,
yeah.
Hagerstown, Maryland, is in the World Finals.
Yeah.
So and I'm announcing it. So we got this whole repertoire going. But he was like, "Hey, can you guys judge again?" I'm like, "Yeah, they can judge again, no problem." So in the middle of, it's kind of like wrestling. It's set up a little bit.
It's got a little bit of a setup, yeah.
And the company owns Gravedigger now, okay?
Sure. Monster Jam owns
Gravedigger, but they also own Goldberg, Tom Mentz.
Yeah.
And Tom, they sell souvenirs to pay for these shows.
Sure.
They want Goldberg's souvenirs to catch up with Gravedigger souvenirs. So they said, "Okay, whatever happens, Digger's going to win racing, but Goldberg's going to win freestyle." I said, "Oh, you're going to get somebody killed." I said, "Those people are here to watch Gravedigger, and they don't just run one Gravedigger out. There's 12 Gravediggers going around the country at any given time. And at the World Finals, they wreck every one of them. One right after, one turns over, another one comes flying out. That's the World Finals is to see Gravedigger upside down smoking at the end. You know, I want to see that myself.
Yeah.
But no. Gravedigger went 10, 10, and 9, and Mentz went 10, 10, 10. And my guys they got pelted by 100,000 beer bottles on the way out of there. They had to escort those guys out because the fans were going to kill them for not letting Gravedigger win the finals. But that they were told not to.
Now, wasn't it watch out for the beer bottle. So
oh yeah.
Did you guys judge because there was the year that Mikey went out there. Mikey won freestyle.
Yep, he did what was it called? But he jumped backwards.
Yeah.
And that's how he won that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you announce for that one?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
But he would do that inside stadiums. So Monster Jams are on dirt. Thunder Nationals are on concrete. They don't put any dirt down. They're just on concrete. There's no dirt on the floor. And Mikey was a Thunder National champion.
Thunder National champion.
Yeah.
That was in Vegas too, wasn't it?
Nope.
No, where was that?
No, that was I know
it's televised.
We did so many Thunder Nationals. I mean, we were doing the same buildings. They just wouldn't bring dirt in.
Gotcha.
And they would make a lot of money by not doing that. You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the amount of manpower that goes into that, and people don't understand when they go, okay, we're gonna we have Gravedigger come out here for an event every now and again, and you don't realize that there's, like you said, there's 12 different Gravediggers, and these guys have, Monster Jam has massive revenue going into these things, and they can just continue to pump it out.
Well, they have each show, so there's 12 Gravediggers or 6 tractor trailer rigs. And each rig has 2 Gravediggers on it, and each rig has a whole crew of mechanics and the best guys in the world. But they also carry extra tires, extra motors, and if they can't fix, so say it's Friday night show, and whoever's driving Gravedigger, just totals it. They'll after everybody leaves, they'll winch it off and take it back. And if they can't fix it, and they'll work all night. I've watched those guys. I'd leave for the hotel, and sparks be flying out, and these guys are re-welding and cutting and rebuilding. When I come in the next morning, there's still sparks flying. I'm like, what? They're like, well, when they say enough's enough, they roll the new one off and winch the old one back on there, and then take it back to the shop and rebuild it. But that night, when you walk in with your kids, there's a new Gravedigger sitting there. So there's always a Gravedigger, a well-toned Gravedigger. If they can't, and they have extra body parts too, because that's what they smash up the most.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing what when you think about the amount of revenue that is generated by those things, and the massive organization that is Monster Jam, and then here we are. On the other side of that, small business guys.
Yeah.
Right. Just trying to earn a buck.
Yeah.
And try to make things happen in Maryland.
Yeah.
And so you went from you announced for free. You did all that kind of that sounds like an awesome deal. You started this, and what's next? What's next for Chip Ridgley?
Well, we're gonna keep this business going. I've jumped into another business that so if you watch the PBR bull riding on TV, I'll just say, for example, Madison Square Garden, because I worked that one too. Well, they don't house all those bulls. It's like 90 to 100 head of bulls every weekend around the country, every single weekend. They don't house them at Madison Square Garden. They'll go off-site, and it could be hours away, like a fairgrounds. Well, somebody's got to come in with portable gates and panels and chutes and all, and build pens for those bulls, and they house them there, and then they truck them over to the venue, whatever bull's in the draw that night. They'll truck them over 5 hours ahead of time. So I'm the guy that shows up at where were we, Sussex, New Jersey Fairgrounds, with a 53-foot step deck trailer with $200,000 worth of metal on it, and my crew sets up all the pens in the alleys, and they load out of there all weekend.
Similar to like what you did here.
Just like what we did here. Well, the arena's here.
Yeah.
So I have an arena.
Okay.
That's a separate 2 trailers, and those 2 trailers are going to Virginia Beach Thursday, because we're setting the arena up down there. We're not doing bull housing. The other trailer is a 53-foot step deck trailer, and that specifically does PBR bull housing.
Bull housing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that's another avenue we've gotten into. It's just with the diesel fuel being so high right now and trucking being so difficult.
Yeah.
Last year we went from Albany, New York, to Madison Square Garden, to Indianapolis, to Chicago, to Eugene, Oregon, to Milwaukee, to New Orleans, to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to Tacoma, Washington, Everett, Washington, and they packed it up at Everett, Washington, and shipped it straight to Ocean City, Maryland. We went coast to coast last year. We spent a lot of money on diesel fuel.
I was going to say, that's a lot of money. And diesel fuel's averaging, I think, like $4.25 or $4 and some change.
Yeah, and so you get out there, sometimes it's worse.
Yeah.
So we cut back on the West Coast shows this year, and we just finished up at Milwaukee. Everything's back here now, and then our next trip for the bull housing is Ocean City coming up first weekend in June.
Yeah, that's what is that? What'd you call that event?
That's a PBR.
That's a PBR event.
Bulls on the Beach.
Bulls on the Beach.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's annual, correct? Or
So this is our third annual.
And
you know,
see if you can find that, Dave. Bulls on the Beach.
Yeah, it's PBR Ocean City. You can go to pbr.com, but I haven't updated the last year's website. But the Facebook page is PBR Ocean City Facebook on Facebook. So that's this weekend, or this past weekend was Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
And then where do we go? Schedule?
Yeah, go to schedule.
Go up in
Ocean
the
City, Maryland.
upper corner there. Go to schedule. Yeah. Let's see. See if you can find it.
And it's weird because the boat business actually
Is it the Unleash? It's not Unleash the Beach.
it's a Challenger Series.
Challenger Series. Okay.
Yep.
And then there it is, Ocean City.
Yep.
So May 31st through the 2nd, Ocean City, Maryland.
Yep.
You can get tickets. You know, I might come down to that thing, man. That sounds awesome.
Well, we do a whole thing. So the entire week before, it's Memorial Day weekend before. So Memorial Day Monday ends that weekend, and then Tuesday is we do a Battle for the Buckles series, because not everybody can ride a bull and win a buckle. So
I don't know about that.
I
don't think I'm going to.
Well, we do a golf tournament.
Okay.
And,
there you go.
And the top four of them all win buckles.
Okay.
We do a fishing tournament, a tuna tournament. We're adding billfish and sharks this year to the tournament. We have the first tournament of the year in Ocean City, and then it just escalates all the way through White Marlin Open in Mid-Atlantic.
But you had never really had you ever done business in Ocean City prior to opening up the boat?
Nope.
And so that network that you established down there through meeting just a few individuals grew into this.
So I was actually, when we started working on the first boat, I had a gentleman, local guy, was helping me build. When you go commercial, like the railings have to be a certain size and so forth. So I had a guy come in and he was building measuring things out. And I said, "Is this what you do for a living?" He goes, "No." He goes, "I run bull on the beach at 2nd Street." I said, "I've always wanted to do a bull riding on the beach." And he said, "Well, you need to talk to Kevin Houck, my boss." So I met with Kevin, and we actually made some drawings up, because I was actually going to do it on the beach. And we were going to unload them on the inlet and build an alleyway underneath of the pier and do it running with the bulls on the beach, And then COVID hit, and just everything shut down. And thought, okay, well, enough of that. And it was COVID, and we were so a good friend of mine, Alex Speece, over in Easton, owns a big winery, calls me, and he had been getting on bulls way back when, and he said, "I know who you are, and I saw you ride at Cowtown many times, and I know you do rodeos." He goes, "I want you to put on my pro rodeo." And I said, "Alex, I'm retired. I'm in the boat business now. I don't really do any of that." He goes, No. He goes, "We'll make it worth your while." But and I told him, I said, "If it's going to be, it's not going to be an amateur rodeo. It's going to be pro rodeo, and it's going to cost money." So he went for it. We did the Triple Creek All-American Pro Rodeo 3 years in a row, but he also does the big Chesapeake Balloon Festival there in Easton. So I went over and helped him announce some of that and some of the bands and stuff, and I was drinking beer with a couple friends of his. He goes, "Oh, let me introduce you to Rick Meehan. He's the mayor of Ocean City." I was like, "Get out." So I told him what we had planned on doing. He goes, "Hey, I love that idea. Here's my number." And I contacted him, and then we had a meeting with Tom Palazzo down there at the convention center, and that's how I got started. You never know who you're standing next to.
No, you don't.
You really don't.
And you just got to keep that mindset all the time. Is like, what's the next option? And the thing is that it's kind of funny, because you're like, I'm retired, but yet these options are still continuing to fall into your lap,
and they always do. And I'm ready to retire again,
right?
But I know something else is going to pop up.
Sure.
You know, that's how I was retired when you found me.
I know. I was going to say, man, that was a long time ago. That was 13 years ago.
I keep retiring,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. What are you doing, Chip? Well, I got this idea. Let's do a rodeo. Okay, we'll do a rodeo. Yeah. So if you need to do a rodeo, Chip's your guy.
But you know, the Wild West, the rodeo part was the easy one.
But hold on. Wild West. You talked about something. I want to scoop back here, and I don't want to throw you off track. Mm-hmm. But you brought up Frontier Town. Mm-hmm. And see, a lot of people don't know what Frontier Town is. And Frontier Town.
I grew up there.
I was going to say,
yeah.
A guy I know, Johnny Moore.
Very well. One of my best friends.
Yeah, John Moore. And
Joe Lockwood. Joe Lockwood was here for the first time.
Joe was
he was
here.
one of our gunfighters.
Yeah, Joe Lockwood. And, oh, my. I mean, there was just a bunch of guys that were there. But I heard, because, of course, John comes up here for our fall festival and puts on one heck of a great show down here.
Yeah.
Gets full regalia.
But his dad, Redbird, was like, you look in the dictionary underneath of Indian.
Yeah.
Redbird was the picture. He was huge. He was just, massive.
Yeah.
Real Indian.
John's not a small guy by any means.
No.
Either. He's a great
But he
guy.
was a bad Indian growing. When we were kids, we used to go down there just to go to Frontier Town. I could care less about that beach, you know.
Oh, yeah.
My brother and I used to go down there just to get into the kids' OK Corral gunfight. And we learned to know, Amy's his sister. But Johnny used to, he was a bad Indian. He used to stand on top of the crooked mine and throw things on people. And I was like, man, how does he get away with that? Yeah. But we just kind of grew up together. And when
I heard you guys used to run around the mine down there and chase after the train. That was a little story I heard from John about you.
Trust me. That place, once the place closed down for the night, it kind of like opened up. It was really fun to be in at nighttime, and back at the Indian Village, we barbecue, meat back there and throw hatchets,
Yeah.
But so when we had the first Wild West Fest, it was basically here, and it really wasn't Wild West Fest then. It was just we were doing a Western type festival. And that was kind of a side piece. And your dad asked me, he's like, hey, can you do this? And cowboy camp and all. And me, sure.
Yeah.
But, we had the arena going in, Howie putting the arena in, and Mark Reed bringing the arena, and Sonny Williams bringing the bulls. And that was the easy part of it. Yeah. But in my mind, I'm thinking John Wayne. I'm thinking John Wayne and the Cowboys. He rides in, and the chuck wagon's there, and the guys are getting breakfast and all. But we didn't have a chuck wagon.
Yeah.
We didn't have any of that. And the day there was Roy Gregory called me and said, hey, I'll meet you up at Lisbon. I got one of these, one of them old tripods you hang the pot over, Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, that's what I'm going to have.
Right.
That's all I got. And I went up to Lisbon to meet him, and I think it was 2 days before the show here. And I got out on 70. I was headed back here to Adventure Park, and my phone rang. And I remember the old guy answered, and he's like, hey, is this Chip Ridgley? I said, yeah. He said, this is Mark Cardinal. And I remember my younger days, there used to be an old guy named Mark Cardinal. He used to ride bucking horses, broncs. And I said, the old bronc rider? He's like, well, I ain't that damn old. He said, and I said, yeah, I remember who you are. And he goes, well, I'm coming to your rodeo to watch my daughter run barrels. Georgette runs barrels. I said, that's cool. I said, it'd be good to see you. I said, what are you guys doing now? He goes, well, I just left Old Bedford Village with my chuck wagon. I said, what did you just say? And he goes, yeah, I do the chuck wagon and 18. And I said, I will pay you $1,000 to stop in, because he was going right past there. And he said, yeah, I'll stop there. But I came back in the next morning, and they had come in overnight, and your dad was here, and I didn't know that Paul was behind him with the medicine wagon. And then I can't remember the kid's name now, Smith. He had the leather shop, remember?
Right, we had the leather shop.
So when I rolled in here the next morning, I walked in, I was like, the chuck wagon set up, the smoke's going on the fire. Your dad was sitting there eating breakfast.
Yeah.
And I just walked. I was amazed that the medicine wagon was set up. This is what I was thinking of.
Yeah, man.
And your dad looked at me with a big mouthful of eggs and sausage. He goes, I don't know how you pulled this off. I said, me either, but you owe him $1,000. He ate apple pie all weekend. Remember, he was making apple pie in the Dutch ovens.
Yeah, man.
But of course, we got hammered by that storm that night.
Oh, that was the worst
Almost
storm.
wiped us out.
Man, that was the worst storm.
Excuse me.
I mean, I look back on that, and it was such an awesome event, and we had everything covered, and it was for those of you guys that don't know this, we put on a rodeo here at Adventure Park USA, and it was just, my father's always been big into westerns. That's why it's a western themed facility.
He was so mad.
He was so upset. He was so heartbroken.
Well, lightning
so
hit
I.
the sign.
Yeah, we
Knocked
had
the sign out.
we had our road sign got hit by lightning. Frederick got just hammered.
Wipe it out. Nobody had electric.
Nobody had electric.
It was
for
110
for
degrees.
3 days. It was
Right.
110 degrees in the shade.
Yep.
So the last thing that you want to do was come out to a rodeo and sit in the bleachers.
Yep. I wouldn't have.
And it was horrible. And the timing was terrible. And I mean, but nobody knew. And we had hauled in like 100 loads of millings down here.
Yeah, the stone dust.
The stone dust.
Yeah.
And we had leveled out the area, and we had done this great big
It was
show.
perfect.
And it was awesome.
Mother Nature decided.
I don't know why, but it just does.
Well, we were doing the production meeting over on the grandstands that night, and I had sound already set up. I had everything set up for the next day, and Mark Thornton from Rodeo Rescue, he showed me his phone. And he had radar. He goes, "Hey, you might want to look at this." And I said, "Where is that?" And then the lightning lit up. The sky lit up over Frederick. He goes, "Right there." I was like, "Geez." So we broke everything down. I threw it in my truck. And I took off for home, trying to beat it home because I've got all the electronics in the bed of my truck now. And I called my wife and my kids. And I'm like, hey, open up the barn doors. I'm just driving in. And as soon as we closed the doors, it just lit us up. And I didn't know the severity of it till I got here the next morning. And your dad's like, yeah, the sign is out. Because it was supposed to say rodeo today here, and it was dead on the door now. And we had Chuck Jenkins here.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? And we had Senator Brinkley here, and Congressman Bartlett was here, and Kelly Schultz was here.
Kelly Schultz was here, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a big day planned.
It was supposed to be, we were planning on like 4,000 or 5,000 people being here.
We had Cowboy Mounted Shooting all day.
Oh, man, that was so cool.
And of course, I wouldn't know. The first person I called after I talked to you was Howie Streaker. He was instrumental. He was the one who put the arena down. Yeah. He rolled that down, and he just passed away. Just passed away.
It's unbelievable.
Well, see, once we left here, after that weekend was over, and I left your dad out there kicking and screaming in the front, I felt so bad for him. But I asked Mark Cardinal, I said, so you guys evidently do this more often. And he's like, yeah, there's quite a bit of us. And I said, what if we decided to start? Because that was another thing. I was like, if I started the Mid-Atlantic Wild West Fest, would they come? It's kind of like a Civil War reenactment. Those guys come up from everywhere. He said, yeah, but there's no place around here to go. I said, but if I started one and I found a place, I wasn't even going to ask your dad to do it again.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but it's kind of like one of those things where people don't understand what it takes to be in business for yourself.
Nope.
But we lost $50K.
No doubt.
Just like that.
Easy.
Because of a lightning storm.
Yep.
And it's like we're a medium-sized small business, whatever you want to call it. But and to lose that, and your profit margin for the season is so slim because you have to put out so much. You've got all of your taxes, you've got all of your insurances, you've got minimum wage, you've got all of these kind of fun things that you're trying to cover. Cost of equipment, cost of maintenance, landscaping, upkeeping, lighting, electric, maintenance, all that kind of fun stuff. And you don't understand. And then we put on the show, and it was just like a lightning storm, boom, and it's $50,000. And it was for us. Although I would love to, I even want to say to you, like, I would love to do that again. I would love to do it again, in a different framework, and do it for a longer period of time, because when you're setting up like that, and we found this out about doing concerts, because if we were to do a concert,
you're losing more than $50,000.
Yeah, exactly, because you're paying the performers, you're paying everybody, whether it rains, shines, whatever it does, that money is gone.
The show that we do on the inlet in Ocean City, after porta pots, tents, insurance, fencing, the perimeter fencing, the PBR itself, everything, the insurance, came out to $750,000.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. I mean, to lose 50 grand is a lot. I mean, anybody, you don't want to lose that.
No.
But I don't want to have to sell my ranch to pay for a rodeo in Ocean City. That's what it costs to put on that show in Ocean City. Is $750. It's $750,000.
Isn't that incredible?
Yes, it is.
And the only reason for us is we didn't have to rent the facility.
Correct.
Now, if you had to rent the facility, you had to do all of that kind of
Would have been a lot more.
Oh, my Lord, yeah.
No doubt.
And we were shucking and jiving to make that thing happen as inexpensively as possible. But
Well, and you know, any business in Maryland, you're going to have risks.
sure.
But people don't see the risks.
No, they don't see the risk, and they don't understand. They walk in the door, and, you know, it's kind of interesting because you and I were talking about this when your daughter and I were sitting down there having dinner, is that the perception is, and especially when they walk into your facility, is you want to have a top-notch facility, right?
Sure.
So you want to have a facility when they walk into your PBR event that they feel like it's top shelf.
Yep.
And you want to have like that Monster Jam kind of experience.
Sure.
Like the people don't know that behind the scenes, you know, they're yanking the wheels off of Gravedigger because they just blew the damn thing up, and they're just tearing it all apart, and they're working all night long, and they're pulling it back out, or they're bringing out another one because you don't get to see behind the curtain, right?
Nope.
And so the idea, that's the whole reason why I wanted to do these. You know, this is what the ESN local and ESN is all about, is that I wanted to allow people to kind of see behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like? What's the risk like? You know, because we all look at, you know, people will come in all the time and they look at us and they go, well, you know, wow, you're doing so great, or you've got so much,
Mm-hmm.
or you've done this or that and the other. And I'm like, you know, I'd love for you to walk with me a day in the life of Eric Stottlemyre, or a day in the life of
Most people wouldn't do it.
Chip Ridgley. And yeah, they don't do it.
Nope.
But they look at us and they think, you know, okay, well, when minimum wage hike, okay, we're going to vote in a minimum wage hike.
Oh,
and it's
my
like,
God.
and then they come in the door and they want to say, well, you know, how much is it to play, or how much is it? And
Well,
we're
just went
trying to
up.
absorb, yeah, exactly. And we're trying to absorb, you know, the cost where the profit margin is so narrow,
Yeah.
and the risk is so high. $750,000 to put on an event. How long does that event last?
3 days.
So 3-day event. If you had 3 days of horrible weather,
Oh yeah, you're eating it.
you're eating it. And it's not like there's some sort of insurance policy for something like that.
No,
You're
there's
eating.
some insurance for.
There's rain insurance, but it's going to
Stupid
cost you.
stuff.
It's going to cost you half of what
no
your
doubt.
upfront cost is.
you're not
So
gonna do that.
you're spending almost
the
$500,000.
bleachers
on it.
alone are over 200,000.
Yeah.
You know, just our setup down there for the bleachers alone are over 200,000.
Yeah.
You know, so you can eat that real quick if there's nobody sitting on those bleachers. Yeah, and I've seen some events down there in the last couple of years, being in Ocean City, get wiped out on that inlet.
Yeah.
When the nor'easter blows through there, I've seen stages being blown apart and out in the ocean. They're out there with loaders dragging them back in out of the ocean. And so that's crossed my mind the last couple of years. Even though the last 2 years we've had great weather, even like last year on Saturday, the wind blew off that beach. I mean, it was getting up there to 60 mile an hour winds, and cold. And everybody was freezing. I'm like, hey.
That's just miserable.
But we were sold out.
Really?
We were sold out, and the crowd was just packed in there. And anybody on the boardwalk that sold hoodies or blankets were sold out. I mean, we were great for business down there. But they stayed. But if it had been raining, I wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
That's no fun at all.
That's miserable.
You know, to me, it's just a bull riding. You know, everybody else it's the PBR, and it should be. But I've been doing it so long, it doesn't matter if it's a PBR. It's just a bull ride to me. You know,
yeah.
I'd rather be in the restaurant eating and having a cold beer with friends of mine than at a bull riding raining.
Yeah.
You know, especially if I'm losing money, and I really don't want that risk. So the PBR and I came to a little understanding this year that they wanted to take it and build it up. I said, you take that and build it up. I'm going to do the sponsors. I'll do the promotions. I'm going to do the golf tournament. I'm going to do the fishing tournament. And I'll do all the fun stuff. You know, I take the cowboys all around on my boats all weekend long, you know, and I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy that has to write that check at the end of the week. And they're a lot more capable of that than I am.
Yeah, it's a huge risk.
Yeah, it's not a $50,000 loss here, you know,
No.
or a $10,000 loss.
No.
A $700,000 plus
You're selling your ranch.
everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
my kids are
wiping
going to
you
go
out.
to an apartment, you know. They're probably not going. You wouldn't like that. Would you?
Yeah, she's
She's got her cows. She's got her pigs
Yeah.
and her lambs, and
Yeah.
my farm will turn into a field hockey complex one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's coming.
Yeah. It's just it's inevitability, huh?
Well, when she goes to college, yeah, we'll probably end up selling all the equipment and letting. Well, we already let a friend of ours do the crops
Okay.
because I'm not doing that anymore. I spent my whole
You were
life.
still doing that when you were here.
Oh yeah, making hay.
Yeah, you were making hay.
Yeah, and
That was 13 years ago.
I watched my father passed away after that, and the farm gets sold, and we spent our whole lives doing farm auctions with our dad. We watched many of families go out of the farming business after the old one dies. Nobody wants to farm anymore. Nobody wants to do that. And I thought, I'm going to break this cycle right here. I'm not going to farm anymore. I'm going to go start a boat business. I'm going to keep doing my rodeos now, my fun stuff. We keep some cows there for the kids and all, because I still love my cows. Even I come home from the boat business or whatever, I like going, get her on the bus. I go work the cows. I feed her calves in the morning because she still shows beef cattle. And you got, 4 years left, I think, in 4-H. And then when she gets back from college, her and her sisters can still continue the cattle business. That's fine. You got to have beef in the freezer.
You have to.
We do not buy any beef from the grocery store.
Yeah.
Or pigs.
And that's your kids are for 4-H.
All 4-H.
All 4-H.
Yeah.
And so and there's local 4-H all around this area. So we were talking about how we could tie that into the restaurant with our smokehouse.
Yeah.
And super excited about that.
How many people right now would love to know where their meat comes from?
Yeah.
Because you buy it from the grocery store.
Wait, you don't want to have your meat made by Bill Gates?
No.
You sure?
The synthetic
Come on,
meat,
it sounds
or
fantastic.
Uruguay or Brazil. We feed ours very. It's expensive. It's top yielded grain.
Sure.
Corn and oats and barley and minerals and salt, and everything good goes into these animals. Well, when you buy meat from the grocery stores, you don't know where that meat came from.
Well,
or what they ate.
No, you don't. And the other side of that is that, like you just said, is like nobody wants to farm anymore, but yet people want to have their meat at a certain level. They want to know, hey, what did I get something that's got growth hormones in it? Did I get something that's grass raised? Did I get something that's it's been sitting in a feedlot its whole life? And like you said, where did it come from? Did it come from another country? Is it grown here, processed in China, and then brought back over onto our? It happens all the time. And and it's like Smithfield did that, and you see that all the time. And so it's like supporting local businesses, supporting local farms, supporting the industry as a whole keeps those going and keeps those active.
Well,
in the
China
local
owns
area.
so much of our farmland right now, and we don't know what they're doing with that.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I just happen to know exactly what my kids are eating.
Yeah,
and I feel good about that.
Sure.
And I sell some beef. We've sold quite a bit of beef. I actually trade with beef. I do a lot of trading. And it's like my friend up here at Affordable Signs, Charlie Zimmerman up here. He's been doing all my signage. Well, he gets a side of beef every year.
Sure.
Because I can call that guy anytime and say, hey, I need boat signage. I need rodeo signage. And he drops what he does, and that works out great for us. It means a lot to me to be able to get some guy that knows what he's talking about.
Sure.
But I know at this time and age that everybody, and it's a misconception. We thought it was cheaper to buy it local. Our feed bill has gone up. Now I'll tell you, and here's a reason why beef is going up and everything's going up. Everything that they eat is planted with a diesel tractor. And you don't just plant it either. You got to spray it. You've got to do all this other stuff, to cultivate it. And then you got to have to harvest it with a diesel tractor. And it's put on a diesel truck and shipped to a mill. And it's usually run on either propane or a diesel generator. And then it's trucked back to bag it and then ship it to the farm to feed it. Well, that diesel fuel, as it keeps going up, I'm sorry, but Democrats will keep voting the idiots in that we had the pipelines going. We had a good president that understood how to keep these prices low. And since in the last 3.5 years, our prices have gone through the roof.
Yeah, it's absolutely gotten absurd.
I'm just telling you how it is, and that's exactly the reason your groceries are going up.
Yeah. And I don't think that it doesn't seem to make a lot of people don't make a connection with that, because they say, well, I'm driving 15 miles back and forth to take my kids to school or whatever, and so if gas went up $1 a gallon, who cares? Yeah, it doesn't affect you as much as it affects that truck driver, like you were talking about, hauling your equipment across the country. What is that like, and how does that impact a truck driver who's now transporting across the country?
They can't.
And the expense has to be related somewhere. They can't just absorb that, because everybody has a cost. They've got a cost to operate their trucks. They've got a cost to replace their trucks. They've got a cost for if they have a blowout. They have a cost for maintenance. They have a cost for they're a rolling small business if they are in business for themselves. And then
it's intentional.
And they've got to relay that. They can't just absorb that cost. It's not just something. And when you're talking about something that you're spending $1,000 or more to fuel up your truck, and you're fueling up your truck every 2 or 3 days or 4 days or whatever it is, wherever you're driving, when you see an increase of $1 a gallon, I just was talking to a friend of mine who runs a big construction company up in Frederick, and he said, our cost when it changes, he goes, it affects us in the millions.
Sure. Because
we're burning 30,000 gallons of diesel every single day, and that's on a local level, and people do not they don't
for
understand.
Joe Blow and these, that lives in the communities, that goes to the food line.
I'll just get an electric car.
They have no idea.
I'll just get an electric car. I'll just get an electric car. Well, it's just this is
they have no
bananas.
idea how the whole system works, and and I love people to say, oh yeah, let's go to the local farmer and support the farmer. Great. But don't expect that farmer who is paying outrageous diesel prices to run those tractors and those trucks, and then to pay for the feed bill. Yeah. The feed bill alone, and we get 2 tons delivered to our farm now. Those 2 tons, we've been doing that for a couple of years, 3 years now. It goes up $100 every year per load. That's up. I think we're almost like $1,200 per load. That's 2 tons, and even we're paying it, but we're also eating that beef.
Yeah.
I'm actually eating the high priced beef, but we're paying that price for those cattle to eat, and the pigs. The pig feeds more than the steer feed.
Yeah, and I just don't know how to get the message across that it's cyclical, folks. It's cyclical. If the cost of fuel goes up,
everything
goes up with the price of fuel. Everything. And when you start raising minimum wage and you start raising fuel prices and everything else, your grocery bill is going to continue to skyrocket. The cost of living is going to continue to.
We're buying oil from Russia.
Sure.
How dumb is that?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
When they shut down the pipelines on day one,
yeah.
I'm sorry, voting matters.
Yeah.
And there's consequences in voting. And when you all voted for that idiot that's in there now, his first thing he did was shut down the pipelines, and our fuel went up.
And I think that in addition to that, it's the local. It's getting involved local.
Yeah.
And it's getting involved local to know who your local businesses are, to know who your local representatives are, to know who's making the decisions that ultimately is impacting all of these things. Because if we don't support the farmers, if we don't support the small businesses, I mean, the small businesses at large are the backbone of our community.
Sure. Yeah.
They are. I know I've grown up in this. Well, you've grown up in this. My entire life. Since I was 7 years old, and you see the ups and downs of it. It's not easy. Everything that you do, you're digging into your own pocket. You're taking a risk on your own,
yep.
and you're setting yourself up. Sometimes for success, sometimes for failure. People ask you, why do you do it? And I said, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love what I love what I do. But for the consumer out there, and for the average person who's listening to this or might be watching this. Make sure that you understand that it's not whether or not you like somebody's personality, or that you this guy has a good message, or this person has a good message, or whether it's Democrat, Republican, Independent, or whoever. take the time to look under the covers,
No,
or
they just
look under
see-
the
they
look under
just
the or
see
check under the
R
hood. It's
or
like
D.
Yeah, it's like buying
That's
a
it.
car. Pop the hood, take it for a drive. You need to learn about these people before you put them into a place where they're impacting your
Correct.
lives so much.
Correct.
And yeah, it's like don't vote on party lines. Just vote on figuring out who the right person is.
That's
and
why we
who's gonna-
like Senator Brinkley and Kelly and so forth, because they're real people.
Yeah.
It was easy to sit down with them, with a cold drink and discuss our issues.
Yeah, and you don't have to agree with everything.
You don't have to agree, but they would go to Annapolis and convey that.
Yeah.
Go meet your representatives. You may think, okay, well, he's a Republican. But he may not be what you want. But you won't know that if you don't go meet them.
Yeah.
Don't just go in there and vote R or D or I. That's we're so removed from that right now. Our society is
It's so divided.
it really is. It really is. And we were talking earlier, since January 6th, I'm telling you, this world is just upside down.
It's very strange.
It is strange. It is very strange. And I was there on the 6th, and I saw the whole thing happen, and it is not what they're conveying.
Yeah.
It is not. And people were like, oh, my God, you were there on the 6th. You know what? It was peaceful. It was great. It was American. We were there waving American flags. What happened inside there? I wasn't in there, so I couldn't tell you. So, but the whole day was just the most patriotic day of my life. Standing on the lawn of the Washington Monument, waving our flags. And listen to all the representatives talking, and then of course President Trump talking. We figured, okay, we'll go wave our flags in front of the Capitol, but there wasn't nothing malicious about that at all. I've got it on video, so you ever want to see that, you let me know. Because it was weird that day because we actually unloaded the buses in front of the Capitol. And I took 2 pictures, still got them on my phone, 2 squirrels playing around the trees in front of the Capitol, because it just felt eerie because there was no fences, there was no signs, there was nothing saying that, later on that day, all hell was going to break loose. We just got off the bus. I said, big day in American history here. You would think there'd be some barriers up, some no trespassing signs or something. Nothing. And then we walked down all the way to the Washington Monument, and I've been there for rallies before. I love going down there and being a part of, the process. Peaceful protests. You're allowed to do that. You're an American citizen. You can go down there today, tomorrow, and do that.
Yeah.
Any day you want.
Yeah.
And so for them to tell you can't do that, that's a damn lie. You're an American citizen, and people need to start remembering and start acting like Americans.
Yeah.
Because our forefathers, they're rolling over now.
There are people that died and bled for that.
Yeah,
and,
my God.
That freedom of speech, the freedom of to protest, the freedom to use your rights to be able to reach out to your representatives and tell them that you're not happy with the way things are going and that you want to have change.
It was funny. We did a rodeo not too long ago, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, up in Tappan, New York.
Okay.
Never heard of Tappan, New York. Been all over New York, but it's right outside the city. Went up there for the Shriners. Good. It's for the kids, the Shriners Hospital and stuff. So we did it. And the day before, the Shriners took us for a ride around, showing us the history of the place. And I had no idea that was George Washington's headquarters during the Revolutionary War. I never heard of Tappan, New York. And so it was pretty cool, the history he was showing us. And he said, oh, that's the hanging tree. I said, what's that mean? He goes, any traitor to the United States, George Washington hung him in that tree. I was like, that needs to happen again. So we need a couple of those trees down here, And I'm like, you know what? We got some traitors in this country right now. They hate this country. And if our forefathers were still alive, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it.
Yeah.
That's that's how things have changed so much in this country. And they don't respect the Constitution and what those our forefathers did. Of course, the Civil War was a completely different thing, but there was a lot of bloodshed in this country. A lot of people died, and right now people would be like, oh, my God, there was a war in here? You know what? Frederick County was a hot spot for the Civil
Yeah,
War.
yeah. I mean, just north of us. I mean, one
Yeah.
of the biggest battles of the Civil War. At Gettysburg. But yeah, it's just yeah, things have really changed. The climate has changed, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to turn some corners this year and get the word out and
I hope so.
really I hope it's a year of awakening. I hope
I
that
have to be
people that-
optimistic. I try to keep some normalcy, but we're going to see in November. That's where we're going to see it.
November and where we go from there too.
Yeah,
You know, and what happens over the next, what they say 200 and some odd days. I mean, what's going to happen and how are things going to play out, and what are people going to are people going to actually just sit back and watch and wait, or are they going to actually get involved, get in the game? I
They
know
better get in the game.
You and I are those kind of people where we just
Put me
we're
in,
willing-
Coach.
Yeah,
I'm
put
in.
me in, Coach.
I'm
Yeah,
in.
I'm ready to go. So
Yeah, and so that's where, and you're right, especially with the election. I think more people now are going to be paying attention to what's going on election day and election night compared to what happened, 4 years ago, because there was some shady stuff that went on there, But I think people need to be paying attention now. We want people in
you
there.
think they will?
I hope it's not. And I heard this many times. It's not how many people vote; it's who counts the votes. We need the people counting the votes to be the right people, and it needs to be fair and square election.
Yeah.
Win, lose, or draw. Just be fair about it.
So do you think that the way that they do elections right now,
No, I hate it.
electronic elections?
No, but I'd rather walk in there, write it down on a piece of paper, and count it. I'd rather, and it's sad to say that nobody asks for your ID anymore, but I make sure I show it. And I make sure everybody in there sees me show it. I want you to see it. Check it. We voted when we voted in the last time we had to go to Lincoln High School and vote, and they didn't have my wife and I on the list. We've been voting for years. So we had to go to another line. I said, hold up, this is already shady. So I knew something was going on right there. But I don't like the electronic voting. And then the mail-in.
I already got my notice. I already got my notice that you can vote by.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And now they're, you can sneak in across the border and vote now, evidently.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that's a big story right now.
Yeah, it's a huge story.
Huge story. And so we've got red flags going up everywhere, around the world, here especially. We have 6 million people that we have no idea where they are, right now in our country. And not, everybody says, oh, the Mexicans keeping it. It's not the Mexicans. I'm not worried about the Mexicans.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got some great Mexican friends.
Yeah.
That have been here for a long time. They're hard workers.
It's the 20-something-year-old Asian and people
the
from
Chinese.
Yeah, that are Chinese people that are coming across. Yeah.
They just found a couple of the Chinese guys, nationals that came across. Well, they had instructions printed out, where to go, how what to do, what to say, and why they were there. So yeah, they're here. They're here. You think 9/11 was bad? This could get a lot worse coming up. So hopefully we make it to November.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year, Chip. Well, I'm excited for you, man. I'm excited for Ocean City in May, the 31st and the 2nd. That's through the 2nd.
You got to come down and get on the boat.
Yeah, going to come down and get on the boat.
Yeah.
And get some friends down there and have a good time. And yeah, that'd be a blast.
Yeah, we want you to check out battleforthebuckles.com. It'll be live this week.
Okay.
We've got the golf tournament. If you like golfing, we do some cool stuff. It's not as just straight. It's a scramble, but we have some fun doing the golf tournament. We're having a big awards party and dinner afterwards with a putting contest.
You'll be down there all summer doing cruises.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I've got a couple weddings, and one in Atlanta and then one in Texas that we're going to be doing some traveling. But I've got some pretty good friends running the boat business down there. Yeah, so I'll. And then of course fair time comes up and everything stops. We're at fairs.
Yeah, your fairs.
We do Harry County and Maryland State Fair. So yeah, I still got one. And what are you, a freshman, 9th grade? So that's not over yet. Got to wait till she goes off to college for we can just split.
I remember those days.
Yeah,
and now I miss them. So, but
I know, and I will too. And I've already started dreading it because I enjoy watching. I enjoyed watching the older two, You know, I can stand in the empty show ring at the fairgrounds, and I go down there for different things when nobody's around, and I'll stand there and I can flash back the times my kids won this and did this, and you know, it's very vivid. And I've already got the memories of her doing this because she does very well. She wins a lot down there. You know, she just won the buckle for, what was it, 4-H Beef Member of the Year buckle. You know, so she's well on her way, and she'll probably be going to play D1 college field hockey like her sisters did. You know, she's well on her way there too. Last year, USA 14 and under field hockey player of the year at the tournament down there, and so yeah,
Little driven.
A
A little driven, huh? I don't know where you get it from.
Well, when
I think you might come by. I think she might come by it naturally. I mean, I'm just saying.
when the two oldest ones played for JMU, they found the coach found out that I'm a rodeo announcer and auctioneer, and she's like, "Hey, can you announce our games?" So I announced all of the JMU home games, and I would go down early, get my paperwork ready, because you see some of those international names.
Oh, I can't even.
Yeah,
imagine.
I got to write them out phonetically, you know, to be able to get through introductions.
Yeah, I was putting Mike B in the wrong car.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what that was.
So I would drop her off at the locker room with her sisters and the team, and so she would hang out in the locker room with the team and then ride up on the bus with the coach and the team. And so she's already got the whole Division I JMU experience growing up. You know, watching her sisters show cattle, pigs, lambs, do Linganore three of sports at Linganore, and then go to JMU. So she's already done that, and she was showing cattle down there a month ago at Rockingham County Fairgrounds, and the JMU coach came down and watched her show. So she kind of hung out with us at the cattle show all day. So she loves the farm kids. Yeah, so
That's awesome.
I'm anticipating her going to JMU, but it kind of depends on where she ends up.
Yeah, where she
Could be
lands.
Maryland, could be Penn State, could be Wake Forest, Duke.
Somewhere. Hopefully, she'll influence some change in the colleges, whatever college she lands.
I think the
at, so.
college kids are turning around right now. I'm starting to see it. You know, I think they're seeing it.
Yeah, if we continue on this downward spiral, you know, it's not going to be good.
No.
Not for any of us.
Well, I appreciate you having me up here, and
this is great,
hopefully
man.
we get back up here and see Mom and Dad.
Well, I'm glad we were able to get you in here. I think this is fantastic.
Cool.
And yeah, we're definitely going to come down to the beach and hang out with you guys
Definitely.
this summer, man. And maybe we'll talk about doing some other event up here at that Adventure Park USA. You
Yeah,
know, doing
I'm in. I'm in. You know, I
the
love-
old man would like it.
I love the new the bar and the restaurant you guys did when we first walked in. I was like, wow, they really changed this place.
Yeah.
I want to see that progress. I want to come here, you know, my friends and hang out. And this looks like a fun place to be.
Yeah, food's good.
It's not just a kids' place.
Yeah, not anymore.
No.
We started out, you know, 20 years ago. I mean, we were never really a kid's place, but it was kind of interesting because we ended up in that kind of getting shoehorned into that demographic. I don't really know why, if it was the birthday parties or what. But you know, and it's kind of interesting because so many kids are coming in now, and I say kids, they're adults, and they're bringing their kids in,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah,
like,
no doubt.
I grew up coming here, and I used to have my birthday parties here. Now I have kids, and I'm coming back, and they're like, oh, you have a bar.
Yeah.
Oh, you have. Wait a second. You guys have barbecue, and I'm
Pulled
like,
pork.
yeah. And the funny thing about it is when I have a farm girl over here telling me that the pulled pork is
She was
off
tearing
the
that up.
chain, she's you know, and people don't understand it. Yeah, we're bringing it in fresh.
Yep.
We're smoking it in house. We've got a huge smoker in the back. We can do 300 pounds of meat at one time.
Yeah.
The whole park ends up smelling like barbecue. We do it all dry rub, and so it's coming in here, and then we're working on farm to plate. You know, so we're trying to work out the logistics of that
Awesome.
because I want to support local businesses and
Sure.
local enterprise,
Sure.
and have our resources end up in the local businesses'
Yep.
pockets.
We're here with you. We'll do whatever we can to help you with
so,
that.
So
Yeah.
that's exciting, and so yeah, so we're really changing. I think we're becoming a facility that, you know, our age group, you know, the 30-year-olds.
old people.
No, but our age group is going to want to come in and hang out and you know, get a beer, hang out, and have
Watch an Orioles game.
some,
You know?
yeah, Orioles game,
Watch a
whatever,
Ravens
yeah,
game.
Yeah,
I'm all into that. So I mean, so when I'm not running the roads and like, this would be my way to relax. You know, meet up with our friends, let our kids go off and do their thing. You know, and moms and dads hang out here and watch the Orioles game, or maybe some live music or whatever. Have a couple cold adult beverages, and yeah, completely different dynamics here, and people need to realize that. And I think they will. We'll just keep telling them.
Yeah, we'll keep telling them.
Keep telling 'em.
Yeah, we'll keep telling them. But anyhow, well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, I had a great time.
So we got Chip Ridgley and his awesome daughter decided to stop by here and sit down with us today on ESN. And I thank you guys for just hanging out with me tonight.
Yeah, we'll be back. Yeah, anytime you need any help, you just let us know. You know me. You can text me anytime.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Dave, thanks for helping us out tonight. Appreciate you, buddy. All right. That's it.